Welcome. This is a video showcase for the Raigore build. I'm a level 84 Druid. This is a 58 map, armor breaker, and poison damage. So it's a pretty decent map, nothing easy. But I wanted to showcase my build a little bit. And then after the map, I accidentally started. I thought I was recording, but we're like halfway through. Or not even, like a good amount in though. But I'll show the build, and then after I'll show my skill tree and everything, and all my gear, so it all makes sense. So rather than overload you at the beginning of the video, let's just hop into the madness and show what this build's all about. Well, I'm dead.
I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
Just kidding.
I'm not ready yet. I'm low on spirits. I need more time. I need time to do that. I'm not ready yet. Just wait a minute. I need time to do that. I'm not ready yet.
And as you can see, we absolutely demolish bosses just because of the AoE size. When you micro slide, create the 6 slides in a really tight area. So let's go over the spec and my gear, and I'll talk about some variations for the spec. as well. Some things that are potentially useful, or you could do deviations on the build, but this is just my current setup until I hit 100. So let's go down the tree. So starting, we just got the basic static with the vulnerability chance. It's really strong. I'm using, for now, this Wild Impulses just because when we hardcast, say our cooldowns are down, we don't have refreshes. This gives our base landslide some really good damage, and the abundance. I might cut these later because this is day of the patch and they just buffed the spec, so I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but this is just what I'm running. Max landslide, of course, enhanced landslide, and primal landslide. Now, we'll talk about raging landslide when we get into the Paragon tree, but because I believe it's currently bugged and not working correctly, or as it should, as intended, and we'll go over that in a little bit. I'm running close to crit, or crit close to enemies, 6%, just because we're always close, so it's free damage. Max bulwark because this is our survivability, and the explosion because we stack close damage on gear. Right now I'm running resistances and damage reduction on shield cast, and then we're running hurricane makes enemies deal less damage, so it's a defensive capability for us. It's really strong, and it's our active reset for our abilities. We can just spam this to refresh our shield or trample slide. This is our fortify gain, and right now I have a neck with this, so this is just a nice little damage node for us, just some free damage. Trample with spirit. I just like the spirit because we don't really need the fortify, and it's just nice to have, honestly. It allows us to be like full mana all the time. Petrify, of course, the goat ability. Damage to elites, 1 little point for extra damage there. Running 3 out of 3 of heightened senses, so every time we trample, we get that 12% DR for 5 seconds, so it's pretty good because we're always spamming it. And they just buffed this from 20% to 30%. Now, I was running this build forever. This is my initial first build, but now it's been buffed to 30%, and now this build's just out of control. Like at 20%, I was like, man, this is a great build. It has little weaknesses on the downtime, and you have to kite a little bit, but now it's like it's absolutely lottery mode. As you can see, I'm just smashing my buttons into enemies. For the Paragons, let's start at the bottom. Pretty straightforward. Now, this is like not like a pretty talent tree. It's not really optimized. I haven't really dove into it 100%, so you're gonna be like, why do you have points here? Whatever. You just like look. All that matters is the keynotes, right? Got my glyph socket here for these bonuses. You want to run the shapeshifter here, in my opinion, just to get these extra bonuses. They're pretty strong. You can swap that around with something else, I'm certain. We're running our Earth and Sky here because we get a lot of dexterity, which is crit. Helps with our other nodes. And resistances, more crit damage. So we get the biggest buffs here, I think. Running into our Crushing Earth over to Devastation. Now, the way we proc this is by Hurricane being active because the slow is crowd control. So that's always procking on our Earth skills when we charge into enemies. I hooked left when it went to the poison tree. Something tendrils. So yeah, this one's just the Earth tree, basic tree, Earth tree, into the poison tree. Now this is the ability that makes it really good. So I'll go into the whole landslide thing and what's wrong with the build currently on a dev level. So right now it says for raging landslide, it says when you strike an immobilize or stun enemy with landslide, an additional pillars form. Now technically, when I hit something with a root, a double or triple, mind you, landslide should occur, but that's not occurring. So either it means you have to hard cast landslide for that to work on the enemy, and it has to be casted preemptively after the root. So once it's rooted, then you hard cast and to get the triple landslide. Now, in my mind, it should react to the status of it being rooted. So because this basically says you have a chance to just root everything for 100%, 120% of the base damage. So I assume that I could just rampage through the room with all my nature magic and root things, which is what you see happening. It's like my anti-kite. But it's not working correctly. I do believe that I am getting Terramotes from the roots, but they're being consumed so fast you can't really see them. Um, let's go over the gear. So on the helmet, we got some life. You don't need barrier, but I like the barrier generation. I think it's really nice. You got your attack speed because we do need to auto attack a little bit to keep our build fluent and resetting. I'm running all max rubies right now. I could run fortification damage reduction, but I think the max life is just kind of nice right now. Basic attacks grant 20% DR. Got DR in my armor, +4 bulwark, earth damage, and damage reduction. On the gloves, I got crit against injured, just because sometimes getting those big elites down is really difficult. And since we're running an axe, we have healthy damage, so the in between is the rough part. But once we get them down to 35%, we really crush them. I'm no longer using lucky hit, so that's like kind of a shit stat right now. I need to replace my gloves because I was previously running a lucky hit build. I had like 40% chance lucky hit, so I was like refreshing petrify, so I was just spamming. I was freezing rooms, but now I don't think I need to do that because I can actually tank them. So I would go for some other stat on here, maybe even attack speed. But you don't need lucky hit chance for this build particularly. And then we got some DR leggings, close, damage reduction, damage while fort, and the 27 all stats is a little buffer. For the boots, I got some willpower, pretty low roll, but it's still okay. And I got the movement speed because I was really slow. And for my weapon, you got to use a two-hand axe just because you really need the imprinted aspect to be 200%. It's pretty much the bread and butter of the build. You got to have that damage behind it, otherwise you're not really doing much. However, I will say pause on that statement because I'll go back after this and I'll tell you why you could use a one-hander in an offhand going into this spec, and you can switch it around a little bit. For the amulet, I got a +3 Stone Guard passive, which is just the 12% more damage while fortified, so it's just a little bit extra damage. Got the 13% flat damage. Cooldown reduction, it's really nice. I would say always get CDR on your amulet just because without that little bit of CDR, because the amulet, as you can see, resets the cooldowns by 12 seconds of the opposite type, it makes it so it's right to it. Because if I didn't have that CDR, I'd be waiting 2 seconds to trample again. So you just need about 13 to 15% CDR to really make this build fluent. Very fluid, not fluent, fluidic. And yeah, so you probably need CDR on that or your helmet or something. For the rings, I got some crit damage, crit damage with earth, and close damage. These are what you really need because we're always close, and all of our skills are earth minus the hurricane, which we don't use for damage, but there is a damage spec for this, and I'll go into that in a little bit. Back to the one-hand offhand thing. Max health, crit, close, crit chance, and then we're running the basic skills gain attack speed, which is just for the time being it's necessary to keep our combo up, but we might be able to swap that out later with further Paragon talents. So, and I'll show you. There's a Paragon that gives attack speed. So here. So there's one that gives, where is it? Flip it right here. So you can get 4%, 5.5% or 6.5% attack speed. That's not a lot. 9% attack speed if we get that breakpoint for dexterity. So like you could maybe go here just for the damage. Or this isn't it. This is the wrong one. Damn it. Sorry about that. It's very similar. Here we go. I think this is it. This tree's way better because this one isn't wolf. It's just straight damage attack speed. So yeah, here these nodes, because it's just it's not a big travel if you connect it well. And you have some tankiness up here if you really want to go for extra tank on your fourth tree. And this doesn't really do anything for us. So you get a glyph socket. You could if you really want to be double, like really tanky, you could just I don't know. You could go here, but I would just go for the attack speed to kind of cut out the aspect. That way we can like still be nimble in our attack speed, but cut out an extra aspect. So let's go back. I didn't go over my aspects real quick. So increased armor on hit, landslide reverberates. You need this one. It's core to the build. +2 on earth skills for fortify, which is huge. You have to have this on the amulet for the -12 max cooldown reset. This one's pretty good for now. I might swap this out with crit damage aspect, because 40% is only increased damage. It's not like a multiplier. I'll show you that real quick. It's where is it? I have one somewhere, I think. Maybe I don't. But if you're playing Druid, you know what I'm talking about. It basically says when you cast an Earth skill, the crit chance for Storm goes up. When you cast a Storm skill, your crit multiplier for Earth goes up. So we would get essentially 45% crit amplification. So that would probably pop our damage up super high. So that's a further advancement in damage if we want to cut that. Now, there are some variations to this build because there is a version of this build that scales Hurricane, and I'll show you why. So there's an aspect that says every second Hurricane is active, it's increased by, I believe it's 14 or 15% at the highest aspect level or percentage, the rating of it. So per second, Hurricane deals 15% more. Now, I do believe that since we're rotating new Hurricanes, that the damage amplifies up. So the longer you can keep Hurricane going, the more damage this would do. So there's a deviation of this build where instead of the Earth skills, what you would be doing is keeping up Hurricane damage. Now, it's not as flashy and fun, but keep in mind there's a version of this build where you just stack up Hurricane damage and it does like 100k a second if you can keep it going, and it keeps going up infinitely, just like the Whirlwind bugged aspect that was doing the same thing, which killed Lilith in I think it was like a world first Lilith or something. But they bugged it out, and I believe that the Hurricane one is working on the same mechanics as that. Let me see if I have it. Let's see if I can show you. I don't really keep it because I don't really play it the Hurricane spec. Here we go. So 7% is the lowest percent, but it goes up to 15. So while active, it could be ramped up 15% per second on active. Now it's an 8-second duration. With talents, it's like, let's see what they give. So you can talent, you would have to talent into Cataclysm. And instead of the, where is it actually? I think it's right here, yeah. So you can get 15% duration on 8, which is about 9.4 or so. Give or take. So you could get it up to like 9.5 seconds or so, and then have that extra like 1.5 breathing room to keep up the Hurricane, but it also would increase the duration of your Cataclysm. So you wouldn't be using Petrify, you'd be using this. And what you could do, since you're using the Lightning, you're using Cataclysm, you could use an Earth Basic to swap out the Hurricane maxing. And you could just use close damage modifiers and then use the Landslide as just a buffer to your massive Hurricane damage. So that's kind of like a side build. Maybe I'll make a video on that one, but that's just like some food for thought that you could do is just a massive Hurricane build since this just got buffed. But overall, yeah, this is the base Druid, Raigore, and thanks for watching. Good luck on your endeavors in Diablo.